Welcome to Thrive, turning uncertainty to competitive advantage. The show where we interview the experts, feature the success stories, and share the strategies of what you need to know to turn your uncertainty to your competitive advantage.
Hey, this is Meridith Powell, and welcome to Thriving in Uncertainty, the show where we dive into the strategies, we cover the steps, we deliver everything that you need to know to, turn uncertainty to your competitive advantage. Let me tell you, I am super excited today because I have with me none other than the social selling LinkedIn whisperer, Brynne Tillman. Brynne, welcome to the show.
Hi, Meredith. I'm so excited to be here with you today. This is so fun.
Well, it is fun. And I think we're going to cover one of the most important topics out there today. I mean, you and I were talking before we went live, and wow, I have a feeling this is just going to be the first of many times I want to have you on. But before we jump in, I have had the luxury of knowing who you are, following your career, and doing seeing all the amazing things you do. Give our listeners basically an overview of who you are, what you do, and the impact you're making right now in the virtual world.
Oh, thanks so much. Ultimately, I am a recovering sales trainer who figured out how to leverage LinkedIn to convert connections to conversations. And so all I do, and it's this little sliver of sales, is teach people how to use LinkedIn and social selling to drive pipeline.
I love that. Well, so I imagine that was all really important even before this pandemic hit. But now that this pandemic has hit, basically the way you and I are communicating right now, it has become our world. And with the latest news we have gotten, it looks like we're going to be sitting right here probably through most of 2021. The show is all about thriving in uncertainty. And what are some of the biggest challenges you're seeing that your clients are facing right now?
So that's a great question. It's across the board, but let's kind of list a few of these challenges. I think one of the challenges is I used to build all of my relationships, my business relationships at trade shows, at conferences, at business card exchanges, handshakes and eye contact. And so I could walk up to someone at an event and we can have this conversation. And if we connected and it resonated, we continue the conversation. And so as a salesperson, I am stuck in how do I meet the new people? It used to be about, it's still about relationships. How do I start a first conversation with someone? Has absolutely morphed. And most folks they're still if I can get on a call with someone, I'm good. But getting that first inkling of, I'm interested in talking with you, I'm interested in learning about you, I'm interested in sharing about me, that whole dynamic has shifted. And so salespeople are a little stuck with, all right, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm connecting with people, I've shared content, but nothing is turning into conversation. So how do I make this work?
So, I hear your name so many places. I mean, you're really making an impact right now. I'll be doing a podcast with somebody and they'll be talking about the fact that they just took one of your courses and, or something like that. Where do people start? I mean, what are some of the biggest mistakes, myths, or understanding? I really want people to walk away with this from this show today, this time with you, with really some concrete things that they could implement to maybe do just a little bit differently. Because I got to tell you, one reason I wanted to have you on is, I love your energy, love your knowledge, but you have such a great approach to social selling that I want people to walk away with some really concrete ideas.
Yeah, I love that. So there are really kind of 4 areas that every salesperson needs to really focus in on to have success. But before I cover those, I want to cover a couple of mindset philosophy, like a mindset shift. Okay. So before we go into tactical, let's go into how we need to approach this. So the very first thing is treat the person on the other side of the message the same way you would if they were on the other side of the table. It's still a human being, right? So like the mass messaging, the connect and pitch, you would never walk up to someone at a business card exchange and go, "Hey, Meridith, I'm Brynne. We help companies just like you." We would never do that in real life.
Right. I got 3 of those this morning.
Yeah. And so, and my guess is you delete, right? They're not effective, but people are a little desperate right now and they don't know the right way to do it. So I'm not judging completely, a little bit. But it's about, my job is to re-educate on how do we use LinkedIn more effectively. So the first thing is, do not connect and pitch. One of my clients said the greatest thing, it's on the border of what I normally say publicly, but I'm saying it anyway. Stop pitch slapping me. I thought that
That's great. That's great. That's awesome. Stop pitch slapping me. That's great.
So I love that. So, okay. So so that's number one. Number two, recognize there are a few things you need to do at a high level to convert your connections to conversations. The first one, for sure, is we need to resonate with our buyer, whether it starts with our profile or if it's in the content that we share or in the messages that we send. Our buyer has to go, "Oh, this person is for me." They have to resonate. Number two, we've got to create some kind of curiosity. There's too much noise out there. We need to get them to lean in. We need to get them to go, that's interesting. I'm willing to learn more, right? So that's number two. Mm-hmm. Number three, we have to teach them something new. They will not be attracted to us as a vendor or as a partner to purchase from if everything looks like everything else. They need to have this aha moment of, "Ooh, I never thought of it like that. Oh, that's an interesting approach," right? So from curiosity to now I'm learned something new, which tails into thinking differently about their current situation. So status quo is our biggest competitor. Mm-hmm. And so if we can't get them to take what we just taught them and apply it in their brains to how that would look or work in their company, it won't turn to a conversation. Even if it's just an inkling of it. It doesn't have to be deep insights. It just these are the little kind of inches that get to conversation. So the last thing is it needs to lead to our solution, not lead with our solution. The leading with is the pitch.
Right.
The leading to are the insight, right? So it's, I've learned something new. I'm thinking a little bit differently. And boy, I'd love to learn more by talking to Meridith. So I'm going to raise my hand and say, that was really interesting. I'd like to learn more.
So let's kind of walk through an example with that because I love it. Let's assume that I sell a widget. And you're telling me that the first thing I need to do is really, and I assume that I don't want to assume this. Do we sort of pick the social platform where our customers live?
Is that a good assumption?
Okay. Yep. And so do you tell people to focus really on one or two social platforms, focus on one kind of, what's your advice there?
So I am very transparent. I only do LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook for friends. I'm on Twitter because I have to be. But like I go in once a day and just heart the mentions. Like I don't do anything there. And when I share on LinkedIn, occasionally I'll pick LinkedIn and Twitter. So I tweeted something out. But I love LinkedIn. My buyers are on LinkedIn. My buyers are on LinkedIn. And so that's where I hang out. Your assumption that you should go where your buyers are hanging out is perfect. That's exactly the way to think. But I'm not going to say, if your buyers are on Facebook, do Facebook, but don't do Instagram because they're only, I don't know, right? Like I know LinkedIn. So I'm going to say, if your buyers are there and there's an opportunity, invest in exploring if you can convert, if there is a way to attract them to you and start conversations. If that's there, then that's a platform for you.
Okay. So let's assume I sell a widget and my clients live on LinkedIn. That's the social
So it's a
selling
B2B
platform. But
widget.
they're yeah, I'm selling a B2B a B2B widget. Kind of walk me through your process if that's what I do, really kind of in an example.
Yeah, so let's start. So the process is the 4 areas that salespeople need to focus on. First, they need to focus on positioning themselves as the subject matter expert, moving their profile from a resume to a resource. Because a resume does not help you win conversations unless you're looking for a job.
Right.
It's showing up as that resource, right? Creating curiosity, teaching something, all of those things need to happen inside of your profile. So that's number 1. Number 2 is your content needs to focus on all 5 of those things, right? So it needs to create that engagement of the right buyers. Number 2. Number 3, we need to nurture our existing connections. So we need to take inventory of who are we connected to, who have we forgotten about, past clients, current clients, prospects, community leaders, vendors, referral partners. We need to take inventory because we have gold in our existing connections that we're ignoring every single day. Mm-hmm. And the third thing is leverage our existing connections like clients and referral partners to mine their connections and get warm introductions or permission to name drop. So those are the 4 buckets: profile, nurture, profile, thought leadership, engagement, content, nurturing your connections, and warm market prospecting. So let's go back. I think your question was, so in my process, where do we start? So if we start with profile, let's just start there for a moment. We need to resonate, create curiosity, teach them something new, lead them to think differently, and get them to want to talk to us. So we start with, there's the whole top of the fold, right? So we've got our banner, our image, all our headline. So let's just talk about headline.
Okay.
Your headline now has 220 characters. That is great real estate, and we need to use this to the best of our ability. And we can do this. The goal, just like the headline of a newspaper, the goal is I read this, I want to read more. That's the goal of the newspaper. That's the goal of the headline of your profile. So ideally, it will cover these 4 points: who you help, how you help them, the results you bring, and what you do. Okay. So, if I went to, I'll review mine for a second. Transforming the way professionals grow their business by leveraging LinkedIn to convert content and connections to conversations. So that's my primary. Who do I help? Professionals that grow their business. How do I do that? By leveraging LinkedIn. What's the result they're going to get if they work with me? Convert content and connections to conversations. And what do I do at the end? I have instructor-led training, e-learning, group coaching.
Nice. Okay.
Right?
So all those 4 buckets.
In 220 characters, I don't think I even use them. I think I'm around 210. So I have a couple, but maximize that so that I resonate and hopefully create curiosity. So the curiosity for me is convert content and connections to conversations. Right. Is that going to be interesting to everyone? No, but that's okay. It's a little bit of a qualifier as well.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Right.
So if they're not interested in that and that didn't pique interest for them, then I'm not for them, and that's okay. Right. Right. So now we've done this. They go, okay, I've qualified. Half the people that showed up are still interested. So they're going to go to the next piece, right? Like I scroll. And the next piece is the about section. Where we make a big mistake is we will often talk about us. My mission, my passion, my years in business. Well, guess what? You haven't earned the right yet. And do they care about you? They will. They will if you provide value. They don't yet. We haven't earned the right for them to care about us yet.
Right.
So we believe the about section and the featured section is where you earn the right. Mm-hmm. So the about section, so we start with the challenge you're facing, right? Then we go into that vendor agnostic insights. That means these are standalone insights that people can get value from even if they never talk to you. If it's about this is how we help our clients. So we're talking about, we help clients do this, this, and this, you lose them. It's a pitch.
Mm-hmm.
So stop in this area, especially stop telling them how you can help them and simply help them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get them to lean in, learn something new, think a little bit differently about their current situation, and it will lead them closer and closer to your solution. So provide that value. Now they're going to scroll down a little more in the big scroll stopper, thanks to my friend. Do you know Cher Jones? If you don't follow her, she's amazing. So I love her scroll stoppers. So your featured section is the scroll stopper, right? So as we get into scroll stopper, what is this? This is where we can add posts and links and uploads of great content. The mistake many salespeople make is we go, oh, we can put all our collateral here. But we haven't earned the right to do that yet. This is an opportunity to continue to educate and bring insights. So if you have a little video or a podcast where you're just helping, it's about bringing value and being a resource. The sale will come when the time is right, if we are nurturing them the right way and we're bringing, and we're having the conversations, but we're bringing value. It's the value and the insights that get the phone calls and the conversations, and the Zoom call. So here we are in the featured section. We want to make sure we're leveraging this to truly bring value. We keep scrolling and we get to experience. If they made it this far, it's time to give them a little insight into you. And this is about your story. Make it clever and fun. This is your why. I started my career as a board as an inbound call center, as a board. I started asking questions which converted to sales. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know I liked sales, right? Like that's my story. And then how, I move it from, I started selling they brought me in to train how I was selling, right? So I became a trainer. And so it's a little bit of my path, but I keep it light. It's almost like I'm telling a little story of my why, where people will connect, but it needs to bridge into what you're doing today. So it's like your journey, how you got here, in 2,000 characters or less. But now we're like, wait a minute, it's my experience. So we have this, what we call our experience hack, where the next thing you do is now, instead of, did you ever see it's threaded together when you have, this is my position. So I was a sales rep, and then I was a regional manager, and then I was a director and a VP, and they're all threaded together in one company. Yes. Nobody cares. So what did I do with this section? They become your deliverables. So here's my one position with my story. And then if you keep scrolling, here's my deliverables. This is my LinkedIn training for sales teams. This is my LinkedIn public class and my coaching, right? And it's all threaded together. And in each of those, we have the ability to now add collateral that supports each of those deliverables. So
yeah. I just want to add that I love what you're saying here, because it's so much how we structure a keynote. It's kind of the same way, is that the front end of a keynote needs to be, you've got an audience sitting there, and the biggest question is, why should I sit here and listen to this woman? And the whole front end is really, the big lead up is to getting them curious, getting them to lean in, and then eventually telling your story as to why the heck you're even qualified to be there, but with the fun of it, kind of saying, I've been in your shoes, I picked myself up, and this is how I figured it out. And here's what I've really noticed about it. When somebody first of all, if you tell your story too early, you lose me. Yeah. But if you don't put your story in that right position, you've left me hanging, because like what you're talking about, and I don't want our audience to miss this, is what Brynne is talking about is there is a natural build in your audience's mind. And that natural build is, who is this? What are they about? What do I get if I hang out and listen to them? Are they showing me anything new, or is this the same thing 30 other people can get me? And then my mind goes, who the heck are they, and why should I listen? So I really want to point that out, because right when you deliver the story is right when my mind is going, okay, now I want to know more about her. And I have been left hanging so often when people don't tell me the story. But again, if they pitch it too early, I'm like, oh God, is this another person talking all about themselves?
Exactly. That's exactly the mindset. You've totally nailed it.
Yeah. We did have a question here from Vivi from our audience who says, is it the same? He basically said, but what if you sell a product and not a service? And my question onto that, is it the same?
So, I mean, it's the same formula for sure, but what does the product solve, right? There's still a challenge. There are still insights around. So, you sell a product, but you sell a solution to something, right? We buy for two reasons, right? It's, pleasure or pain or fear of pain, right? And most everything that we sell is fear of pain, fear of risk, fear of what we'll lose if we don't make, unless you're a travel agent, which isn't, like we're selling to the future that will happen if you don't fix right. So your product, what did he say the product there?
No, he didn't. He didn't say the product. He just said, what if it's a product or a service? But he loves the power of storytelling. He jumped in with that. Yeah,
good. I love that. So it really is talking about their challenge and providing insights. We're not leading with your product. We're leading to your product.
Oh, I love that. Not leading with, we're leading to.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some of the biggest mistakes? Well, let me ask you this. Why has there been such resistance to social selling?
I think 2 or 3 reasons. One, there are social selling trainers out there that have that are telling the world that this is the only channel and every other channel is dead and nothing else works. So that creates salespeople go, there are other things that work. We're doing other things that work. So when there's the arrogance of everything else is dead and this is it, you're going to lose people. Number one. Number two, when someone says, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do LinkedIn for 3 days and I got nothing. Nah, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah. That they're in there doing random acts of social where everything else in their sales world is processized, is in a process, but they go, oh, but LinkedIn, I'm going to go in, I'm going to connect, I'm going to find my ideal prospects, I'm going to connect with them and I'm going to pitch them. And like, oh my gosh, nothing turned to a conversation. It doesn't work. So they tried it. They didn't have a plan. They didn't have a philosophy mindset. Right. And so I think, because of those experiences, they're like, this stuff doesn't work.
Yeah. What do you, I think we're starting to grasp this idea of what we need to do to build our brand and provide relevant content and things. How do you mine your existing clients or your existing connections to really be able to, quote unquote, make a sales call?
Mm-hmm. This is my favorite topic. Okay. This is what we can get from LinkedIn that is not available anywhere else in the world.
Okay.
And that is the ability to filter and search our connections to identify exactly who they know that we want to meet. So let's just start with clients.
Okay.
Right? Make an inventory of all your clients over the last 2 or 3 years that absolutely loved you, that you brought great value from. And now in the traditional sales way, I'll say, Meridith, I'm so glad we've been able to do X, Y, and Z for you and your team. I don't know if you know this, but we grow our business from referrals from our happy clients. Who do you know that could use our products and services the same way you have? And we've all tried it in sales. Everyone has tried that, right? But what's the reaction 90% of the time? I can't think of anyone right now, but if someone should ask, of course, I would absolutely refer you. We've got to ask for referrals. But, and sometimes we might go through, do you know any other CEOs? Do you know any other people that run trade shows? Do you know? And they're still like, I can't think of anyone, right? Like that's just the reaction.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time.
All the time. But what if we flip the script and say, before we get on a call, I go to Meridith's connections. I do my great magic in filtering out, and I identify 18 people that you know that I want to meet, that you forgot about. Like if I ask you, right? So now I say, hey, Meridith, I'm so glad we've been able to help you and your team do X, Y, and Z. I'm glad that's been such a success. Not sure if you know this, but the way that we've grown our business has been from referrals from our happy clients. I happen to know you're connected to 18 people that I'd love to get in front of. I promise I will not ask you for introductions to all of them, but I'm wondering if you could review these names with me and let me know of these 18 who you think it makes sense for me to reach out.
That's great. So you've taken all the heavy lifting off the person you're asking for a referral. They don't have to try to think of somebody. They just have to make a connection and make it with the people they feel most comfortable with.
Correct. So maybe of the 18, there's 6. Mm-hmm. Great. Now I might say, is there any one of these 6 or who of these 6 would you be comfortable making an introduction to? Right. 2. Okay, great. Of the other 4, when I reach out, can I mention that you're my client, you've had some successes, and you thought it made sense for me to reach out? Absolutely. So now I get 2 introductions, and I reach out to the other 4 people, and I'm Vivi, Meridith, and I were chatting the other day. Your name came up in our conversation, and she thought I should reach out and introduce myself. Let's connect, and I'll fill you in.
Oh, I love that. This is going to be, right now, this is where I am falling down on my strategy. And that is going to, I'm going to work on this not only for the end of the year, but as I roll into first quarter. Because I think the truth is, you're right. We are leaving gold on the table. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hope everybody caught that, because she just gave you a really key strategy. She said, go through your LinkedIn, do your inventory of your LinkedIn contacts, find those people that you know really well or who love you, and just basically reach out, look at their connections, and ask them specifically for who to connect you with. I think that could fill my calendar for next year.
100%. And then so when people tell me, I don't know how to start conversations and with whom, this is where LinkedIn, so this is foundational, guys, especially if everything that you used to do is not available anymore. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like this is it. So for all the sales trainers that have said social selling is not effective, I want you guys to hear, yes, it is. It's still not the only way to sell. I totally get it, but it is absolutely one of the most powerful top of the pipeline opportunities.
Absolutely. Brynne, I cannot believe we are at the end of our time here. I have so many other things to ask you. And so you've got to promise to come back on after the first of the year and do round 2 of this. Will you promise us that?
Anytime to hang out with you. So I have to say, you started the conversation with, you've seen me around and about. I am such a fangirl of you that we were on, I think David Newman had a webinar. We were both on it. And like my heart started pounding because I'm like, oh my God, I'm with Powell. So I think you're amazing. And I am so grateful and honored to be part of your network and to be able to have this conversation with you.
Well, me too. I'm so glad that big shout out to David Newman for bringing us even closer together. But again, I just think you are so brilliant with this and so many other things, but such a timely subject. Now, tell our listeners how to get a hold of you, the things that you offer, because there's so many different ways to digest all the incredible information and training that you're providing right now.
Well, thank you. So fortunately, I'm still the only Brynne Tillman on LinkedIn. So that's a great place to find me. We do have a huge content library. If you go to linkedinlibrary.com, it's totally free. There's almost every week, there's new content, maybe almost every day. Well, a couple times a week. We've got new content going in there, webinars, all kinds of fun stuff. So that's linkedinlibrary.com. And, we've got lots of other opportunities. If you go to socialsaleslink.com, there's lots of stuff going on.
Well, great. Well, I would really suggest you follow Brynne, you read her stuff, because it is incredibly timely. But again, want to thank you for being on the show. We will definitely have you back. I want to thank all of our listeners for tuning in again. We'll see you next week with another guest, another show, and even more strategies you need to turn all of this uncertainty to your competitive advantage. Thank you.
Thank you.